Today, I give you the tools to master your theme park morning. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode number 19. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 19 of the Go Inform podcast. I am your hostess Maven, and today we are talking about how in the heck do you get up so early to get to the theme park first thing? Well, I have a lot of experience with this, and I am not a morning person, so I'm here today to give you some tips and strategies to help you figure out how to make this work for yourself and for your family. There are a lot of tricks that we've learned over the years for how to get up first, and I can also tell you why it's a good idea to do this. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things today on this episode. Show notes for this episode will be at goinform.net/19. And I will put links to any extra resources, anything that I mention here today. I'll try to get that over into the show notes page so you can use that for reference. So if you have listened to any of my other episodes, you probably heard me say, like already a whole bunch of times, that the best way to beat the crowds at the theme parks is to be the first one there. And I really do believe it. It certainly has worked for us. We travel to Orlando during school breaks, and those are the busiest times of the year. And the only way to make it work, as far as we have figured out, is to tough it out, get up early, and be first at the parks. And some of the advantages besides beating the crowds in terms of getting there first, it is just a different atmosphere first thing in the morning at the parks. If you walk into the Magic Kingdom, when it first opens, it really is extra magical. There's not a whole bunch of people in front of the castle. You can walk up Main Street and really take it in because it's not just packed. And when you are first in the park, you kind of get the run of the park to yourself. And talk about a great time to get pictures. Besides beating the crowds on the rides, this is your chance to really see it, experience it, and sort of have it to yourself. It's a quieter pace. If you're traveling in the summer, the first thing in the morning is going to be the coolest part of the day too. So you don't necessarily, you're still going to be hot, guys, but not as hot as it will be at 2 o'clock or even noon. So getting there early definitely has its advantages. If you are going to Universal Orlando and you have early admission into the parks, being there early is huge. This is an excellent way to beat the crowds in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, which is pretty much always crowded. Taking advantage of these early morning opportunities, it's really, really going to make your trip a better trip. Okay, but I know that a lot of us, including myself, travel to these parks from far away, and you might be in a completely different time zone. And even if you aren't, if you've been there for a few days, you're probably getting pretty tired, and you might have stayed up too late the night before. Okay, that's kind of tip number one. If you're trying to do early morning, don't also try to stay until the middle of the night, because unless you're like 15, that's probably not going to work for you for more than like one day. So there's a lot of reasons that it can be hard to get out of bed when you are on a vacation like this, or really when you're on any vacation. And honestly, you guys, a lot of these strategies work for anything. This is really, these strategies kind of, I use some of them even in my normal life, because kind of hacking your way through the morning when you're not a morning person, it's a skill that you can learn and it will carry you really far. Okay, so some of the things that you need to be thinking about when you are planning how you're going to make this work. One thing is, the first thing you need to know is what time do you need to be at the park? So what you're going to do in the morning, a lot of this requires a little bit of thought beforehand. So you can just set it all up, set your plan in motion, and kind of just go on autopilot when you get up in the morning. So talking about what time you should arrive at the parks. You need to be looking at the park schedules. I really think it's important to know the park schedules before you even go on your trip. So you can be planning, which park you're going to go to on which day and some of those strategies. I shared some of those tips in episodes 7 and 18, the last episode, when I was talking about, what to expect on your first day in the parks. So if you haven't listened to those episodes and you're planning to go to Disney World or Universal after this, you might want to go back and check those out. And I've got some more strategies about what to do once you get into the parks too. But anyway, back to the park schedule. So know what the park schedule is. At Disney World, the park schedules can change. They will change them up even the day before. So make sure you're watching. You might think that you need to get up for an 8 o'clock opening time, and then it turns into 7, which has happened to us before. So you want to find that out before you go to all the effort of getting to the park for an 8 o'clock opening and then realize everyone's already in there because it opened at 7. So keep an eye on those park schedules and have an idea of where you're going to be going and what time you need to be there. So what time you need to be there is actually not the time of the opening time of the park. The time you should be there is about a half hour before that. That is because with pretty much every theme park I've ever been to, what happens is if they say it opens at 9, they're probably going to start letting people in actually around 8:45. So you don't want to show up at 9 and have everybody already in the park. The idea here, if you're going to go to all this trouble of getting up early and going through all of that, then make sure that you really are there as one of the first people at the park. That's really where the advantage lies. So plan to arrive at the park about at least really a half an hour before the time that they say it's going to open. That will give you time to get in line. Sometimes that will mean you are literally the first person in line, but a lot of times that just means that you'll be one of the first people there. So it's not an unreasonable thing to show up a half hour before the park's going to open. A lot of people do that. And again, that puts you ahead of most of the crowd. So then the next step in your plan and in your thinking about this is to just back up again and think about, okay, how long is it going to take me to get from my hotel room or wherever I'm staying to get to the park gate? So familiarize yourself with how you're going to get to the park. Are you driving your own car? Do you need to park? Are you doing some kind of transportation at the park, like a bus or a boat or something like that? You need to think about how you're going to get there and how long that's going to take. And make sure that when you're thinking about that, if you're taking the bus or the boat or whatever, allow a little bit of time to wait for it to show up, because you're not necessarily going to walk right out of your hotel room and hop on that thing and get there. So build in a little bit of a buffer so that if you do have to wait for a bus or whatever, that it's not going to set you way back on your schedule. If we're talking about your first day at the parks, and you just checked into your hotel tonight and tomorrow morning you're going to be getting up and it's going to be early, you guys, it might be dark. Just warning you, it might be dark when you're getting out there to that bus stop or whatever. So find out where you're going. Like if you're staying at Disney World and your hotel has a bus stop that you need to get to, figure out where that is so that you're not wandering around in the morning at trying to figure it out, because it's not going to be very easy at that time, and that'll be really stressful. So find out where's the bus stop or the boat or whatever it is, the monorail, whatever you're doing. Figure that out. If you're at Universal Orlando and you're walking to the parks, just have an idea of, where the path is. How do you get, which way do you need to get out of the hotel to set yourself up so you're heading the right direction to the park. So do that research beforehand. Either when you check in, you can ask about it, or if you can look it up online, there's lots you can look up maps of the parks, maps of the resorts and that kind of thing, and figure out where you need to go to get your transportation to get to the park. And think about, add a little bit of time in for that. Okay, so the next step I would say is to start thinking about how long it's going to take to get yourself and anyone else that you're with out of bed and to the point where you're going to be walking to the park or the bus stop or whatever. So make a plan for what the morning's going to look like as you guys are getting up and getting ready. That might mean like who needs to take a shower first or whatever, or can someone take care of that before bedtime, or like how logistically are you going to navigate getting everybody ready and getting out of your room. If you've got little kids that, you really are going to have to pretty much get them ready, think about how long that's going to take too. And add that into your time when you start backing up and thinking about what time you want that alarm clock to go off. There's a lot of things you can do the night before to make it easier for when you get up in the morning. The main thing is to be really organized and have things organized before you get in bed. So get, your park backpack, whatever you're carrying into the park, pretty much just get whatever you can pack in there the night before, put it in there so your bag is ready to go. If you are at Disney World and you have magic bands, either keep them on your body or put them, somewhere in your room where everyone will remember to put those on before you leave the room. If you have park tickets, be sure that you have those park tickets somewhere where you will not forget them. In terms of the other stuff you need to get ready in the morning, what we do is we literally make a stack of our clothes and our shoes and our socks and everything. And I feel like a firefighter because it's like you get out of bed and your stuff's all ready. You're not standing there going, oh, where's my, t-shirt or whatever, or what I'm going to wear today. Figure that all out the night before. Just get it all sorted out. I know, you're losing sleep one way or the other because you're doing this before you go to sleep. But when you wake up in the morning in a strange hotel room and it's, really early and you're tired from the day before, it's going to be a lot harder to figure this stuff out. So figure it out before you go to bed so that it's already done. This will actually save you a lot of time. So when you get up, you can just, your stuff's ready, get dressed, and whatever else you need to do to get ready, have it all kind of just laid out so that, like I said, like a fireman, the alarm goes off and you get up and you're ready to go out the door. And make sure everybody in your group does this, because if you have one straggler who takes forever, then everybody has to wait for that person. So whatever you need to do to support, you know who you are, you guys, and you know who it is in your group. So if there's some extra stuff you guys can do to support that person, to help them have a more efficient morning, whatever it is, think about it ahead of time, and hopefully that will speed things up for you in the morning. Okay, so now we're going to get to a few of my favorite tricks that not everybody thinks about, but I think they help make the morning easier, a little more fun too. So the first thing is using a wake up call. So if you are staying in one of the resort hotels really, I think probably at any theme park they have this. My experience with the Disney parks and Universal is that their on-site hotels have special wake-up calls. So I know most of us now just use our phone as our alarm. And you know what? You guys do that too, because you always want to have a backup in case the wake-up call doesn't come in for some reason. But a wake-up call is a really cool way to start your day at a theme park because they're themed. The wake-up calls are themed. So at the Disney parks, there's usually just one option, but when you call and set your wake-up call, then you will get a call from some Disney character waking you up in the morning. So it might be Mickey Mouse, or it might be a character from whatever their latest movie is, or whatever. But it is so Disney. It's always like, have a magical day, and this is Mickey Mouse, and it's time to go to Disneyland or whatever. It's really fun. So if you set a wake-up call, then you get that little extra bit of magic as soon as you get up, and it reminds you that you're not just on some regular trip. Like you're going to the theme park today. At Universal, we have had some of the best wake-up calls there. I will put a link to it in the show notes. I have a little video. At the Hard Rock Hotel at Universal, the wake-up call options are from rock stars. So you can have like Alice Cooper do your wake-up call, which is really neat. And so you can set this up ahead of time. And then what you have to do so that not just one person gets to hear it is there's on these hotel room phones, there's still like the old style phones, and they usually have a speaker phone button. So whoever is next to the phone, when it starts ringing, it'll usually there's like a red light that lights up so you can kind of see what's going on, and they need to roll over and hit the speakerphone button. And then the whole room can hear the wake-up call. And it's like I said, it's just kind of a fun way to start your day and remind you that you are in this kind of fantasy world and, Mickey Mouse just woke you up or whatever. Another thing that you can take advantage of when you're staying in many of the different hotels at these resorts is room service. So I know room service sounds like an extravagant idea, especially for breakfast, and when you're trying to get out and go to the park. But actually, room service is a really good hack for trying to get up and get out, and also for being efficient. From room service, you don't have to order a huge breakfast. You can literally just order a continental breakfast for your whole room, just one order of it, and it might be enough. It probably will be enough to just get your group a little bit of something to eat and some coffee. We've done this many times, and this actually works really well because when they bring you the continental breakfast, it's usually what it is like a basket with, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 little mini pastries in it, a pot of coffee, maybe some orange juice, some ice water, and you can have it while you're getting ready in the morning. And really, it costs like $15, even with the tip. I mean, you're not even going to spend $20 for this. And you get the way better coffee than what you're going to make in the coffee machine in your room. And you get the pastries. And if you bring some Ziploc bags with you on your trip, then what you can do is you can nibble on the pastries first thing in the morning while you're getting ready. But if you don't eat it all, you can toss the rest of them in a Ziploc bag, put the coffee in a to-go cup, because most rooms have those now. So you can fill your cups up with the coffee and take the pastries and take them with you, and you can eat them on the way to the park or or while you're waiting for the gates to open at the park. So it saves you from stopping at the coffee shop or whatever that's in your hotel. It gives you really, I think, better food and drink anyway than what you might get in the little coffee shop or whatever. And the other thing that room service does for you is you order it the night before, okay? This is a big part of this. So you want to order it the night before so you know that it's going to come on your schedule. So you order it the night before and you tell them, I need this delivered by like between 6:15 and 6:30 in the morning or whatever your time is. They usually start around 6 or so at these places. So you give them a time that you know they're going to bring this. And I tell you what, if you haven't already gotten out of bed, when that room service guy knocks on the door, that's going to get you out of bed because you can't ignore that. So it's kind of a trick for yourself. Another reason you've got to get up, and it takes care of getting something to eat and getting a little bit of coffee or whatever you need to kind of get moving in the morning without spending a lot of money. So that is a really great hack that I urge you to try out if you're staying somewhere where room service is an option. Just remember, order it the night before and it will all be set up. It's one of those other things you do the night before to get ready. So yeah, this is a great way to start your day and give you a little bit of fuel to get yourself to the park. Okay, another hack that we use that is just awesome is we use a wake-up light when we travel to the parks. So a wake-up light is a bright light that has a clock in it, and it's like an alarm clock, but instead of a sound going off, a light comes on. So this is a really good way to get yourself acclimated to a time change or just to deal with the waking up in a dark hotel room. We have a wake up light that we use that is pretty small and it travels pretty easily. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But it is really helpful. So we set it up so that it comes on and comes on just a little bit before we need to get up. And this one comes on gradually. So, it's still pretty bright even when it first turns on, but it actually will wake you up. And so the light itself might wake you up even before you get your wake up call or your phone alarm goes off. You see all these layers here, you guys. But the wake up light is great because it gets a little bit of light into the room so that you can not be stumbling around in the dark when you first get up. This is a great thing to travel with no matter where you're traveling. And actually, the wake up light I have is also one of those light therapy kind of lights. And so I keep it next to my desk in the dead of winter and just turn it on when I need to imagine I'm in Florida. Yeah, this is a really cool travel hack. And I even have a wake up light for my regular alarm clock now because I think it's so amazing. So anyway, if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the show notes to, I'll put an Amazon link so that you can go over and check it out. But this really is a great hack to help you. It kind of tricks your mind into thinking that, oh, it's morning, even if your room's really dark. So consider getting a wake up light as another way to get your group up and get them moving. Okay, so now that you're awake, the main thing is just make sure you have your park tickets and don't linger in the room any longer than you need to. When you're ready to go, just get going, especially if it's your first day. Add a little extra time maybe on that morning because it does sometimes take longer the first day out. Once you kind of get into a routine, if you're traveling from your hotel to the parks more than one morning, by the second, third morning, you're going to start to kind of know how long it takes and how long you have to wait for the bus and all that stuff. So, but first day out, make sure you're allowing enough time for distractions and maybe a wrong turn or whatever. And yeah, make sure that you're realistic about how much time it's going to take for you and for your group to actually get up and get to the parks. In terms of what to do after you arrive at the parks, if you are traveling to one of the Universal Orlando parks, then I do recommend that you go and listen to episode 7 of this podcast series. Episode 7 is all about what to do on your first day that you are in the Universal Orlando parks. So that can just carry this conversation to the next step. And if you are visiting the Disney World parks, then the last episode right before this one, episode 18, is all about what to expect on your first day in the Disney World parks. So go back and listen to those, you guys, if you want to get some tips about what to expect once you actually arrive at the gate. I even talk about like going through security and how they scan your magic bands and all that kind of stuff. So go back and check that out. And I think it will help you figure out what to do with the rest of your day. But I do congratulate you for making the effort to get up early and be one of those first people at the park. It is a pretty amazing experience. And I really think that it's worth trying out and it's worth doing. I have lots of pictures of theme parks early in the morning over on my Instagram page. So if you want to see what some of these places look like, and especially without the big crowds, go over and check out my Instagram. It's over at GoInformNet on Instagram. I'll put a link in the show notes. And you can kind of get an idea. I think this week, as I release this episode, I'll put some extra posts up there about kind of showing you what it looks like when you get there first thing. So thanks for joining me today on the show. And the show notes, again, you can get them over at goinform.net/19. And I will see you next time. I hope you have a delightful vacation.